Hey everyone, it's Lazbro. I'm back for another video. I guess today it's my day off, so I guess I'm just gonna be doing I thought I'd do something different here. I thought I'd do a fanfic reading. I got nothing else to do, so I guess I'm gonna read one of my fan fictions that I wrote. This is a story I've been working on for quite a long time now. Kind of stopped doing it for a while, but I'll get back to it eventually. I'm almost done, finished completing it. So it's my Annabelle story, that Pinocchio daughter story I've been working on for quite a long time. It was like my own personal sequel to Walt Disney's Pinocchio, because, I'm a big fan of that movie, as you can see here. This is the shirt I was going to wear to Disney World last year when we went, but unfortunately the COVID stopped that. So, hopefully we'll get to Disney World one day. But anyway, I'd like to do like a fanfic reading here. I've seen some of my friends do fanfic readings. And I thought I'd try and do a reading myself here. Of course, you guys know how my reading is. I always fumble with my words and can't say words right. Can't read sentences properly. But, nobody's perfect, unfortunately. So, yeah, I'm gonna read the first chapter here and maybe do a little bit of commentary here. So anyway, let's get this story started here. This is my story. It's on DeviantArt here. It's called Annabelle, the Daughter of Pinocchio. And it's a fan fiction sequel series to Walt Disney's Pinocchio, as I said. So it's set 15 years after through the film, so Pinocchio's all grown up. And that's all I got much to say, so let's just jump right into the story here, okay? So here we go. Chapter 1, The Return of Jiminy Cricket. 15 years had passed since Pinocchio became a real boy. Jiminy Cricket had been continuing to travel the world, teaching many children the same lessons he once taught his best friend. But after being gone for so many years, the cricket decided it was time to return home. Yeah, I made this story that Jiminy left shortly after Pinocchio became a real boy. But, okay, anyway, so he boarded a ship and sailed back to Italy, where he was sure Pinocchio was still living with Geppetto. Well, where else would he live, of course? It was a calm and quiet evening when Jiminy strolled into town. The old village just looked the same as it did all those years ago. Same brick houses, cobblestone roads, oil lampposts illuminated the streets. As he wandered along the crooked streets, there wasn't a soul to be seen. Yes, I'm quoting the movie. At last he spotted something up ahead that he recognized instantly. It was a familiar-looking building with a light shining in the window. He hopped closer and saw it was Geppetto's old workshop. Alright, so here's my Jiminy. There it is! Home sweet home. I can't wait to see how Pinocchio's been doing since I left. He quickly hopped over to the door and looked up to see a wooden sign hanging above that said Geppetto and Son. Yeah, that's a nod to the Geppetto movie with what's his name? I can't remember his name, but at the end there was a sign above the door that said Geppetto and Son, so that's a little bit of a nod. Anyway, he squeezed under the door, entered the house, and to his surprise, everything looked different from what he remembered. There were new shelves, furniture, and all the old wooden clocks and toys and music boxes Geppetto made were gone. Even the old bed was missing. Gosh! Pinocchio and Geppetto must have redecorated this place since I've been away. Seeing that there was no one about, he made himself at home, again quoting the movie. As he walked around looking around the changes, the entire workshop was now a cozy little living area with a big green sofa, a new fireplace. There was a kitchen with a large wooden table and an iron cooking stove. Yeah, I changed the house a little bit because, I'm sure maybe it looks the same, probably looked the same, maybe it didn't, I don't know. I wanted to change things up a little bit here. But anyway, as Jiminy continued to explore, he soon felt he was being watched. Okay, here's when I introduced my first original character in the story. Well, kind of, sort of. He slowly turned his head around and gasped when he saw a kitten towering over him. The little cat had unusual pink fur, blue eyes, a white face, belly and paws, and a red ribbon on its head. Yeah, it's a Minnie Mouse bow. And the cat is pink. This is Figgy. She's like a little girl version of Figaro. Yikes! A cat! Jiminy shouted and started to run as the kitten chased after him. He hopped from side to side trying to escape, but the pink kitten continued to pursue him. Soon he found himself backed into a corner. He trembled with fear and held up his umbrella to defend himself, expecting the cat to pounce. But instead the kitten just stood there and curiously stared at him. Please don't eat me. I used to live here, he begged. I'd taste better for the fishes than a feline such as you. Now, I didn't actually come up with that line. That line was commissioned to me by my friend MSP 169. He kind of helped proofread my story and helped me write it a little bit. So that was actually his idea, not mine. But anyway, the kitten turned her head sideways, meowed, and moved closer to Jiminy. He wasn't sure if the kitten was friendly or wanted to eat him. To his surprise, the cat just smiled and meowed happily. I guess you're friendly after all, he said with relief. You know, you look like a kitten I used to know, but not personally. Suddenly, Jiminy heard footsteps coming into the room. Figgy, what's all that noise out there? Are you chasing mice again? Guess you can all guess who this is. Jiminy the kitten looked up and saw a tall, thin man with dark hair wearing a long-sleeved white shirt with a blue bow tie. He also wore long blue trousers held up by suspenders over his shoulder, brown shoes, and on his head was a familiar yellow hat with a blue stripe and red feather. This is Pinocchio. Pinocchio? Jiminy said, looking up at his old friend, who was now a grown man. That voice, said the young man, looking down at the little cricket. Jiminy Cricket, is that you? It's me, Pinocchio. Long time no see. Pinocchio held out his hand, and Jiminy helped into his palm. Jiminy, welcome home, old friend, he said delightfully. Gosh, Pinocchio, you sprouted up. I almost didn't recognize you. It's been 15 years since I became a real boy, Jiminy. I'm all grown up now. Oh, if you hear banging down there, that's my dad. He's working on a washing machine. Anyway, you look very handsome, Pinocchio. Geppetto must have done a great job raising you. Say, where is the old fella? Pinocchio frowned sadly, hearing this question. I'm afraid my father isn't here anymore, Jiminy, he said regrettably. Jiminy felt deep sadness when Pinocchio told him Geppetto was gone. Yeah, Geppetto's passed away by now. So, oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. When did he pass away? He died over a year ago. The last thing he said to me was how proud he was and how much he loved me. Jiminy felt sad hearing Geppetto's passing, even though Pinocchio was an adult now. I mean, it must have been hard for him to watch his father die. Yeah, that's a little bit morbid saying that, but, well, that's my writing. What about Figaro and Cleo? Are they still here? Cleo's gone too, but old Figaro's still around. In fact, this little pink rascal Figgy here is one of his kittens. Jiminy looked down at the little pink cat circling around Pinocchio's legs, rubbing herself against him and meowing, wanting his attention. Yeah, Figgy's a little pink ball of fun. She's not, spoiled and jealous and, bratty like Figaro was in the movie. She's more the opposite of what Figaro was. But anyway, yes, when I came in, she surprised me and chased me all around the room. I thought she was going to eat me. Oh, don't worry, Jiminy. Figgy won't hurt you. She just wants to play. The kitten stood up on her hind legs and flicked her paw, wanting to be held. Jiminy hopped onto Pinocchio's shoulder as he reached down and picked up the kitten. It's good to have you back, Jiminy. Our home is your home. Would you like some tea? Sure, why not? It'd be the first time I ever tried tea from you. Pinocchio walked into the kitchen and poured a dish of milk for the little kitten. He then began brewing some tea for himself and the cricket. I see you and Geppetto remodeled this place since I've been away. That's right. Father and I sold all of his old clocks and toys so we could afford to refurbish the house and make it more suitable for us. There's 2 bedrooms upstairs, and we built an extension in the back where Father moved his workshop so we can continue his woodworking business. That's good to hear, Pinocchio. Are you a woodcarver like your old man was? I sure am. Father taught me everything he knew, from how to build clocks, making furniture, toys, and even puppets. The children call me Pinocchio the Toy Maker because of all the wonderful toys I make. The tea was ready, and the kettles on the stove began to whistle. Pinocchio handed Jiminy a tiny cup that was just his size, poured himself a cup, and sat down to continue the conversation. So where you been all these years, Jiminy? Well, after you became a real boy, Fairy gave me this badge and made me an official conscience, as you know. He opened up his jacket and showed Pinocchio his precious golden badge. Yeah, the gold badge that the fairy gave him at the end of the movie. Of course, you all know that. So I've been traveling the world and teaching other children the ways of right and wrong and guiding them on the straight and narrow path. That sounds exciting, Jiminy. What places did you all go? Well, I've been to Germany, England, and France. I met lots of strange and unusual people and creatures. But in all my travels, I always thought of you and how much you changed my life. Now I've decided I'm done traveling and have come back home for good. Yeah, Jiminy's been a lot of places. You can imagine that little cricket's been everywhere. Sounds like you had a lot of adventures. I missed you a lot after you left, but I'm glad to have you back, old friend. Just then he felt the kitten scratching at his leg and looked down at her. What is it, Figgy? The little cat jumped around and meowed a few times. Oh yes, I nearly forgot. Pinocchio turned to his old friend. There's something I'd like to show you in the workshop, Jiminy. Would you like to see it? Sure, Pinocchio. What is it? Oh, I think you'll be pretty surprised when you see it. Pinocchio smiled and then winked his left eye. Jiminy rolled on his shoulder as he walked into the back room and turned on an oil lamp hanging on the wall near the doorway. The room was a big workshop filled with wooden clocks, toys, music boxes, and a workbench in the corner. Wow, Pinocchio, did you make all these? Jiminy asked, admiring the many different clocks and music boxes, which some of them resembled the ones Geppetto made. Yep, these are all mine, Pinocchio answered proudly. Impressive. You're just as good as your old man was. So where's this thing you wanted to show me? It's right over here. I've been working on it for a long time now. It's finally finished. Pinocchio pointed to a white sheet covering something on the workbench. Jiminy hopped down, and Pinocchio slowly removed the sheet, revealing what was underneath. Behold, my masterpiece! And here we go. Here's our introduction to our main character. This is where I describe her looks and designs. So here we go. The cricket's eyes widened with astonishment. It was a beautiful wooden marionette girl with light brown hair shaped like a ponytail, glassy blue eyes, 2 red circles painted on its cheeks, a painted-in smile, and a big pointy nose that looked like Pinocchio's back when he was a puppet. She wore a lovely blue dress with poofy sleeves and a white pinafore attached to it, a blue hat with a red stripe around it, white gloved hands, and on her feet were big yellow clogs. Yeah, I gave her clogs. Don't ask me why, it's just part of my clog fetish thing. It's kind of weird. Strings were attached to her arms and legs and back and head, dangling above 2 cross bars hanging above the shelf. Well, I'll be, said Jiminy, staring at the wooden girl. She looks fantastic. She looks similar to you when you were a puppet. The craftsmanship is a work of art. Thanks, Jiminy. I found some old blueprints that my father used to make me, and I built her in my image. What do you think of her? Jiminy looked her over and was impressed by how realistic she looked. She sure is cute, he chuckled. He hopped onto her wooden nose and knocked on her face with his fist. She's made of fine wood, too. Same kind your father used to build you. So what's her name? I named her Annabelle. Sorry, my aunt was talking. Her name is Annabelle. I named her after my old school teacher, Miss Annabelle, from when I was a boy. She was an excellent teacher and taught me many things. Yeah, that's my best explanation for where you got the name Annabelle. I know a lot of people probably compare it to the possessed evil doll movie Annabelle, but that's a different Annabelle. So, it's funny, I made that character the same year that movie came out. So go figure. Anyway, Annabelle, huh? What a lovely name. Though, wouldn't it sound more Italian if you called her Annabella? Yeah, they never really touched on the fact that this story takes place in Italy in the movie, did we? But it was kind of like a European, village thing. But anyway, I guess. But I think Annabelle is a prettier name, don't you think so? She's your puppet, Pinocchio. You can call her whatever you want. Would you like to see her perform? I've gotten pretty good at puppeteering. I'd be delighted. Show me what you got. Okay, so Jiminy hopped down and sat on the edge of the workbench. Pinocchio picked Annabelle up and laid her on the wooden floor with Figgy. He walked over, turned on a little music box that started to play lovely music. Pinocchio picked up Annabelle's crossbars and began to make her dance around the room to the rhythm of the music. Her clogs and wooden body clomped and clattered as Pinocchio moved her around. Figgy followed the puppet as she danced up and down, hopping around, stood on her hind legs, trying to mimic their movements. Yeah, the kitten really likes the puppet. She's very curious and, what is this thing? She's so interesting. Remember how Figaro used to, in the movie, would follow Pinocchio around as Geppetto moved him around? That was my favorite scene, when Geppetto made Pinocchio dance around and Figaro would follow his movements and stuff, and he would almost stomp on him and kick him around. That was the best part of the movie. Anyway, watching this reminded Jiminy of when he first entered the house all those years ago and watched Geppetto make Pinocchio dance around the workshop before he came to life. When the music stopped, Pinocchio made Annabelle stop dancing, and she finished with a bow and a curtsy. "Bravo! Bravo!" Jiminy cheered, clapping his hands in applaud. "Your father would be so proud." Little Figgy meowed at Annabelle, and Pinocchio pulled the strings, making her gently pet her. The kitten seemed very fond of the wooden girl. "So what do you think of her, Jiminy?" he asked, picking Annabelle up and holding her in his arms. "She's terrific. She looks cute and her dancing is very graceful. Though I think those heavy clogs kind of weigh her down a little bit. But overall, she's very well made, Pinocchio put Annabelle back on the table and looked at his creation with admiration. "I'd love it if she were a real little girl," he said, imagining Annabelle as a real person. "She'd make a beautiful daughter." "Well, you never know, Pinocchio. If the Blue Fairy granted you Geppetto's wish and brought you to life, maybe if you wish hard enough, then the same thing could happen to Annabelle, too." Just then, they heard of several of the wooden clocks Pinocchio made going off, alerting them that it was 10:15. "Goodness! I didn't realize it was getting so late," said Pinocchio, feeling somewhat exhausted. Geppetto always made sure he went to bed at an appropriate time, and as a child, and it kind of stuck with him. "Me too," Jiminy agreed, stretching his arms and yawning a bit. "You're welcome to sleep in my room if you wish." "I'll be all right, thanks, Pinocchio. I think I'll stay in here for the workshop for a while. You know, just in case your little wooden princess here comes to life in the middle of the night or something." Jiminy smiled and gave Pinocchio a wink. "All right, then." He then picked up Figgy and turned off the lamp. "Well, good night, Jiminy. Welcome home." "Good night, Pinocchio. It's great to be back." The two friends smiled as Pinocchio walked out of the room. It felt like history was repeating itself as Jiminy thought about how familiar this evening turned out to be. And they both thought about Annabelle and wondering if she would come to life too. End of Chapter 1. Well, and that's Chapter 1 of my story. I'm sure you can all guess what's going to happen in the next story. Yeah, history's going to repeat itself, like it as usual, because this is called Annabelle, the Daughter of Pinocchio. So I could read the next chapter, but I'm a little bit tired here, so I think I'm going to call it there for now. I hope you guys like this little fanfic reading here. Let me know if you want to hear the rest of the story. I know my reading wasn't all that great, and I messed up the words a lot in the sentences, but, like I said, nobody's perfect, so I hope you all like that little story here. And let me know in the comments down below if you'd like to hear the rest of the story. And I guess until next time, I'm Lazbro. I'll catch you guys later.